guys, welcome back to the channel Kat's Kitchen, Garden, and More. I thought I would bring with you guys on how I make my pizza crust. We're having pizza for dinner tonight, and we make our pizza from scratch. Once in a while we'll buy it, but most of the time we make it from scratch because it's a lot of fun. It's a New York style pizza crust. I have my recipe right here. I just get it off of the back of my flour that I buy, which is the Big J Milling Company up in Brigham City, Utah. I buy flour from them at my store. So, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our yeast going. And I'm checking the temperature of the water, make sure it's okay. It's a little warm, so I might give it a little stir and see. Okay, so we're going to put the yeast in. You don't want it too hot. You want it between 110 to 115 so that it does not kill the yeast. Basically lukewarm. So I'm stirring that in. And then we need to add the sugar and the salt. The sugar calls for 4 teaspoons. 1, 2. I only put 2 in because it's a 2 teaspoon measuring, which equals out to 4. And then salt, which is 2 teaspoons. Okay, so we'll give that a stir and let that sit for about 5 minutes to activate. In the meantime, I'm going to measure out my flour. And my flour is 4 cups of flour. My 1 cup measuring cup is dirty, so I'm going to use a half a cup. So I will do it 8 times. Okay, so we're going to let that sit before we add the oil into it because we're waiting on the yeast to activate. And when the yeast is all activated, I will be back and I will show you what we do next. All right, it looks like that our yeast has foamed up really nicely. I'm going to show you. You see that layer of foam that's on it? That means it's activated. So we're going to dump that in. Make sure we scrape as much of it out as we can. just before we add the oil, we're going to turn this on. Oops, I got to plug it in. Helps to plug things in. Now you can do this by hand. I've done it many, many times. I just got this back in November from my work. And it's been a nice help. But I have done it by hand, so don't think you have to use this. Scrape the side a little bit. And now I'm going to add the oil in. I have a half a teaspoon here, so I'm going to add 2 for 1 teaspoon. And then we just keep scraping the bowl until it is done. It's a really simple, easy dough. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this out onto a floured surface and continue to knead it for about 8 to 10 minutes. And then I will stick it in a bowl and let it rise. So let me get some flour here. They flip it on me. That's okay. Let's see, spoon here. I'm going to scrape out as much of this as I can. Okay, I'm going to try and get some of this off of here. Put a little bit of flour on it. A little bit on my hand. Waste nothing is what I say. So this month, the month of January, I am doing a pantry challenge of trying to eat what's in my home and only buying at the grocery store what I absolutely do not have at home and cannot produce at home. Like milk, cheese, eggs, Everything that I have canned and everything that I have bought that is in my pantry will get eaten this month. A couple of my YouTube channels that I follow are doing this. Living Traditions Homestead, Acre Homestead, and Three Rivers Homestead are all doing the Pantry Challenge. So go check those channels out. Now, if you don't know anything about kneading, you're going to pull the dough towards you and then push with the palm of your hand. Pull towards you, push, turn, pull towards you, push, turn. Pull towards you, push, turn. And you're going to do that till you get a nice smooth ball. Shouldn't take me too long. Like I said, 8 minutes, maybe 10 at the most. Because you don't want to over knead it. And anything that doesn't want to come up in, I usually will gather up, put it underneath here like this, push it in, and then fold back over the top of it. Now, you don't want your dough to be too sticky, but you don't want it to be too dry. And if you've kneaded dough enough, you'll learn the feel for it. It's kind of hard to describe on the video. But if it has too much flour and is too dry, it'll be a really tough, floury dough.
Can you solve that by just adding a little more water?
No. I don't know what it is because I don't know the science behind it. But I've done this before in the past and it's not worked out. Where I have added in a little bit of water and it changes it. It's just really weird. You can add in a little extra flour if it's too sticky, but you can't add in the water because it changes the dough. And I don't know how to describe it, but it just doesn't change it for the better. Like I've told you before in my videos, I'm not an expert. I know a lot, but I'm not a 100% expert, so that is a question that I cannot answer to a T. I don't know if you can see, it's sticking to my hand a tiny bit, but not too bad, so I'm going to leave it at that. Because I do not want to over-flour it. Not actually sticking to the table, so that's totally good. So if it starts sticking to my hand, I just kind of go like this, and then I work that back in. Gather up every bit of flour that's on the table with my bench scraper. Okay, I'm going to tuck these under. I don't know if you can see how nice and smooth it is. I'm going to take this bowl, so I don't dirty another bowl. And it doesn't need to be cleaned out or anything. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of oil into the bottom. I'm going to kind of work it around the sides a little bit. And then I'm going to stick the top side down. Try and get some of the oil on it. And then I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to cover this about 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to let it sit. In the meantime, while that is going, I am going to do my pizza sauce. So I take my homemade tomato sauce. You can do this with Italian seasoning if you have that. I happen to have pizza seasoning that I'm going to use. I make my own seasonings. You can go back into some of my other videos. You'll see the seasonings. I'm going to start out by dumping about a half of a jar. We might not need the full jar. I can always add, but I can't take away. And then I will put a teaspoon and a half of the seasoning. Go ahead and mix that around. And then I've got some fresh basil here, what's left of it, that I'm going to add into here a little bit. And I just rip it into pieces when it's fresh like this. And I'll put like 3 or 4 leaves. Let's do one more. Oops, looks like I got 2. Waste not. We'll give that a good little stir in. Oh, that smells so good.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
it does. Where's Rachel's smell-o-vision?
Rachel Ray. My husband always says that about her.
She needs to make it.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to let that sit while we wait on the dough, and then I will be back. Let me share with you the recipe again. I will make sure I link it in the bottom below. It is 4 cups of flour. I use the flour that does not have bleach in it, not bromated, not genetically changed, all that stuff, whatever you call it. 1.5 cups of warm water, 1 teaspoon of instant dry yeast, or you can do like I did, where you do a package of the active dry yeast. If you do the instant dry yeast, you will add that straight into the flour and then add your water and let it sit. If you do the active dry yeast, you will do it in a separate cup with the water, the sugar, and the salt. Then you do 2 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of oil. Preferably olive oil, but if you don't, a good canola oil or sunflower oil or avocado oil will work. So like I said, I will link that below, and I will show you how I roll out my dough in a few minutes. Hi guys, I just wanted to let you know that I noticed that my husband accidentally put his thumb over the screen when he was doing the videoing of me doing the sauce. We do apologize. I tried to cut that out, but it's on my phone, and it wouldn't let me cut all of it out. So I do apologize for that, but I hope you like the video anyway. I let my dough go a little bit longer, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to make 2 pizzas. So I'm going to cut this in half. You could get 3 pizzas if you wanted a thin crust pizza. I like mine a little bit thicker, but that's a personal choice. So I'm just taking my bench scraper and cutting it in half. Then I will put the other one back in until I'm ready for it. We're going to roll this out as close to a round as you can. I'm not perfect at rolling rounds. But it still works. It still tastes good. No one has to be perfect. There's only one perfect person in this world, and that's Jesus Christ. So as good of a round as you can to fit our pizza pan like this. And I have the pizza pans just lightly oiled. You don't want a ton of oil, just light. Just enough because we're going to put some cornmeal on it to hold the cornmeal. Because that is what's going to not only flavor it, but keep it from sticking. And as you can see, it's not a perfect round, but it works. It's homemade. It's supposed to be rustic. Take our pizza pan. We're going to sprinkle some cornmeal on it. Make sure you get all the way around to the edge as well as the center. And then we're going to take our pizza dough and we're going to plop it on here. I'm just kind of working around to the edge. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to dock this with a fork to keep any air bubbles from forming. Light layer of some olive oil, just to give it good color, because we're going to stick this in and cook it for about 6 minutes before we put the toppings on. You just want a super light layer. We'll stick this in, and then I will do the next one. for 6 minutes. And notice I didn't add any oil to this or flour, because there was already oil in here, so our flour is covered already. Or our dough, not flour, sorry, dough. I apologize. And we're just going to do the exact same thing with this. When they are all done cooking, then I will be back to show you how I top it. Okay, so they are been in the oven for 6 minutes. They've been out. Now I'm going to top them. You can top them any way you like, with anything you want, but I think I'm going to do a Hawaiian and a 3-meat, and one will be half cheese, half 3-meat, and the other one will be Hawaiian. Hawaiian's our favorite.
Yeah, I can't take Becca anywhere without her wanting one.
What was that, hon?
Can't take Becca anywhere without her wanting one.
Yeah. If we don't do Hawaiian, she likes the cheese. That's our daughter. So I'm just dividing this between the two. You don't want to go all the way to the edge, but so I try to leave a little bit of an edge. And I think dividing that sauce was just perfect instead of doing the whole thing. I've actually got a little extra here. Okay. So typically what they say to do is to put the cheese first, and that's what I usually do, because the cheese will have a chance to melt and crisp up. But I do put a little bit on top too. You can use any cheese that you want. It doesn't matter. Typically they use mozzarella and I believe Parmesan, like a little blend. But I don't have that, and because I'm doing the Pantry challenge this month, I have some cheddar and some Kobe Jack mix. Put as much or as little as you want on it. And then I have my home canned pineapple. My daughter likes pineapple, so I will put lots on. But you put what you want. And then you can put either ham or Canadian bacon. I don't have very much Canadian bacon, so I'm going to put ham. And there again, as much or as little as you like. Okay, now we're going to split this pizza in half. And do the 3 meat and leave the other just cheese. I guess I have a little bit of Canadian bacon left over, so I'll stick it over here. And that's not a problem at all. Okay, then we're going to put the pepperoni on. I always make these tricky to open. Let's see if I leave my signature. Yes, I will. So if you guys haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button below and the bell notification. Hit the thumbs up. And I will have this recipe in the link below. And I will have a picture at the end of this as to what it came out looking like. I think that looks pretty good. So we'll stick this in the oven, 450 for 8 to 10 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye, my friends.